We've still got some more folks joining, so I'm gonna hold for a little bit. Okay, it is a couple minutes after, and I know we've still got some folks signing on, but we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the March System Business and Finance meeting. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Ginger Velasquez, and I'm the Executive Director for Business and Finance. I will apologize that I am not able to be on camera today. Typically I am, and today I'm not able to do so. So my apologies for that. Before we get started, just a few of our normal housekeeping items to remind everyone that you've been placed on mute. So please type any questions you have into the chat. We do have a team that is reviewing those questions as they come in, and we will try to get to all of them. But if time constrains us, we will be sure to review any of the unanswered questions after the meeting ends, and we will follow up on those for you. Also, we will again be recording this meeting and emailing each of you a link to the recording. So if you have additional questions that come up afterwards and need to review a segment of the meeting, or if you need presenter contact information, you will have all of that. And finally, as always, feel free to reach out to myself or Stacy Balmas or Bernadette Rossmore whenever you have questions or comments or ideas. You will find our contact information on the last slide of the presentation, so you can reference that at any time. As far as the agenda, we are going to start off with a couple of announcements today. First, I'm going to turn things over to Bernadette for an announcement regarding this fall's Business and Finance Symposium. So Bernadette.
Great. Thank you, Ginger. Hello, everyone. I just have a brief announcement regarding the 2026 Business and Finance Symposium. The Office of the CFO is again pleased to sponsor next year's symposium. It will be hosted at all three universities in the fall of 2026 and coordinated by the university outreach team. The symposium will continue as a half-day in-person event, offering timely and relevant business and finance information for business managers across the University of Illinois system. The symposium at UIS is tentatively scheduled for Tuesday, September 15th of 2026, and the symposium at UIC is scheduled for Thursday, September 24th of 2026. University Outreach is currently developing the agenda in collaboration with the business advisory groups at all three universities, and you can all expect invitation and registration details to be shared in the coming months as we finalize our plans. Thank you.
Thanks, Bernadette. And our second announcement is for our UIC participants regarding the UIC space survey. So Patricia, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Ginger. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to take a moment to give everyone a heads up that the FY26 annual campus space survey is coming up. The survey will open on May 4th and run through June 26th. Please note that June 26th deadline will be firm, so we do encourage units to start their internal reviews, audits, and coordination right away rather than waiting for the survey to open. Especially for units with organized research space, this early coordination among gatekeepers, your business managers, faculty, will be very important to ensure that your PI and grant assignments for research spaces are accurate. And as a reminder, for those of you who may not be familiar with the survey, these are a key part of supporting the FNA process and also in helping us maintain accurate campus space data. And we, which is Facility Information Management, we collaborate very closely on this effort with System Government Costing and with the Office of Vice Chancellor for Research. And I just want to note that in preparation for the launch, we have been working with some of you here, many college level administration, in order to validate your current departmental gatekeepers, who are the folks who are overseeing the space for each org code, because that list will be the primary distribution list for upcoming survey details. So we will be sharing more information to that mailing list soon, probably as early as tomorrow. And that will include webinar registration. Those webinars will take place on April 7th and April 23rd. And then you can also expect a broader message from campus leadership in the near future. And lastly, I just want to emphasize again preparation because the entire survey platform has been updated. So the training webinars, in addition to the regular terminology, they will also cover the new system. We'll be recording one of the webinars and publishing it online for anyone who's unable to attend. Please reach out to me directly. My email is on the slide, bpac2@uic.edu if you have any questions. And thank you all in advance for your collaboration on this very important campus-wide initiative. Thank you, Ginger.
Sure, thanks, Patricia. So diving right into the agenda for today, we will hear from Eric Ferguson first up from our system HR office regarding employees working outside of Illinois. Eric?
Hey, thank you very much for the intro, Ginger, and thank you, Bernadette and Terry Thompson, for setting this up today. I'm just turning on my camera in a moment. My name is, Eric Ferguson, and Terry Thompson, who may or may not be here. She is one of my committee members on the Out-of-Country Employment Committee. I also, as part of my role, I deal with what I call, for lack of a better word, interstate employment too. And when you put it all together, that's outside Illinois. And let me just share my screen, and we'll get this show on the road. Let's see here. And then, I think we're going to, keep this between 15 and 25 minutes. I think that's what you said, Bernadette. If there's any questions, you can just blurt out the answer. I'm going to try to monitor, the chats, and we'll get the show on the road. Let me just move this over here. So everyone should be able to see my screen. What I'm going to be focusing on is what would be relevant to the Chicago and Springfield campuses. I'm located in System in Champaign, and I've got my phone number there. Feel free to, give me a call if you have questions. I've also got my email there as well. So, why are we doing this? It's, my role is really adjacent to compliance. The University of Illinois has programs in other countries, and a country is sovereign over its territory. And if they find that we're not conducting business according to their laws, according to how they say, it could put us at risk for, for one thing, for taxes as well as fines. I have an example there, and this isn't relevant to UIC or UIS, but I like to share it as UIUC has something called a CAM, HR policy specific to that campus. And, in their policy, which is only for the UIUC campus, of course, I like it because it says, international activities must have academic merit. They can't violate pertinent laws, and only competent, qualified individuals may participate. So sometimes that helps me respond to UIUC questions. This violates all the rules of like PowerPoint and presentations, a lot of information there. I've been in HR for a while. I've been with the University of Illinois for a couple of years, or several years now. And now I'm at System, and I chair the Out-of-Country Employment Committee. So what do? Is I chair a committee, and we review international work. That is, work that is happening outside of, the United States on I would call it like, I call it, kind of like a side job, for lack of a better word. But I also deal with interstate employment, and I'm going to be talking about that in a moment. I think I have, yep, right there. I've got that there. Okay. And so, the out of country employment committee, what we do is we review international work. International work can be 1 day to ongoing to programs, official programs run by the university, and we interview it. We review those programs, with an idea about, tax, employment, payroll, especially, as well as export controls, and then some visa related matters. We have committees from System and then all three campuses. From UIC, we have Amra Gadir, Samuel Moody, Arwa Naji, Odell Richmond, and Melinda Rodriguez from HR. We have Jim Hammerschmidt from OIS, in regards to visa issues, and then Renee Strokirk from Council. And for UIS, we have Mackenzie Filchak and Drew Schlosser from HR. We have Lucia Vasquez and Chris Eisenberg, and then Wendy Smith represents Council. And then System, I won't go into all the names there, but they're represented by, University Payroll Benefits, as well as Treasury, and then Cash Management. That's who's represented by System. And, sorry, let's bear with me a moment here. Got out of order here. There we go. So what we do is when a unit has someone that's going to work in another country, they send us some information, and I'm going to show you how they send that information later. And then what we do is we assess it. The first thing we do is look, we see if, from an export controls related point of view, if that work would be allowed. Sometimes export controls has to ask additional questions if the employee is working with source code. And then the next thing we do is we look at, if there's a visa involved. Sometimes there's unintentional international employment when someone gets stuck in another country due to the U.S. State Department. And we just want to, see if we can kind of predict that and advise about that ahead of time. Anyone here on a visa is yes? Oh, you can't see the presentation. It didn't share.
Eric,
Can no one?
I can see the presentation.
Okay.
Eric. I don't,
Okay.
and others can as well.
Okay.
So, sorry for the
Super.
sorry for the interruption.
No. That's great. I've got the chat on one screen. I'm trying to keep my eyes on it. So super.
Okay.
Yeah. So if someone is here on a visa, when they're working out of the country, they might be eligible for something called foreign source income. They're basically taxed differently, and it's important, to get taxes right, and so university payroll assesses for that. Let's see here, and then the more complicated it is, we have counsel as well as tax. They look at this from different points of view. If there's a tax treaty that can affect, how we might set up the employment while we're there. As a rule of thumb, in general, if the international work is going to be less than 60 days, we review it, but it's a very simple matter. One of the things we do is we do want to know about it, even if it's under 60 days, because we're periodically audited. India audited us a couple of years ago, and we had to show, we had to report, how many people had been working in India, and then some other information. With some countries, our risk goes up the more people we have in that country, and so we need to be able to track that and then have an understanding of who's there in that country. And now, with a war in Iran and there's a war in Lebanon, there's some other aspects that is involving different units. Today, a unit right before this meeting, a unit reported that someone would be working in Lebanon, and that. If they're going to work in Lebanon this summer, it just needs to be reviewed by, and this is for the UIUC campus, so it might be different for UIC and UIS. But basically, there's a department called International Safety and Security, and they're going to review this and see if it's going to be allowed. If I received an international work report from UIC or UIS for Lebanon, I would probably escalate it and make sure that the dean of the department or the head of HR was aware of it. Sometimes when someone is going to work over 60 days, it's important to the unit. Maybe they're going to be working ongoing, and so we involve external legal on that. And University Council, reaches out to an external legal counsel firm. Right now, it's this firm called Taft, and then they give the information to the external legal, and then we'll get an opinion or response from the external legal. There is a cost to it. It can be, there's just the more hours you give an attorney to work, it's billable hours, the more expensive it can be. And so, an estimated cost can be $3,000 to $5,000 just for an initial opinion. And sometimes, they don't have a solution even. We do have some solutions if a unit needs someone to work ongoing in a country. We do have a vendor called MOV Group, and they basically can, if you're familiar with temp agencies, it's kind of like that, but different. Basically what it does is a MOV Group can employ someone compliantly in another country on behalf of the university. And so, for example, there's a unit that has someone working in Canada, and they're actually employed by the MOV Group. They get paid in Canadian dollars. MOV Group pays the person on a regular basis. MOV Group reports taxes to the provincial and Canadian tax authorities, and everything is compliant for Canadian law, and that's the beauty of the MOV Group. If there was any kind of issue, the person is legally employed as far as Canada is considered. And MOV Group can employ someone in most of the countries in the world, as well as if there was a need for Puerto Rico, they could be a solution for Puerto Rico here in the United States. There also is an IPEC award, 2309, where temporary services can be used to employ people in other states and countries, but mainly that's for the United States. And and so I can be the first point of contact to refer you or your unit or the people that you're working with to the MOV Group or a temporary agency. Whoops. Okay. So I've been doing this job going on over 3.5 years, and we are building country knowledge on a lot of countries. The university has programs in Spain, in Barcelona. It's a study abroad program. We have operations in Singapore, a program called Illinois ARCS. And then we have offices in India and Mexico, and so we have like legal presence in these countries. And you'll see a circle there, CERN, that stands for the Center for European Nuclear Research. It's in Switzerland. Maybe you've heard of a super collider, and we have operations there. And so it's important that when we're operating in countries like this and others, that we operate in a compliant way, so our programs aren't threatened or put at risk in any way. And we have a lot of experience, having people work in Canada and China, as well as Thailand, United Kingdom, Ireland. Those are just some of the places that we've been. Oops. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay. So, I had mentioned some other, campus resources at UIUC. There's International Safety and Security for the that kind of office at UIC is held within OIS. And then another issue to be aware of when you have someone work in another country is data privacy. There's very strict laws in countries like, United Kingdom as well as Canada. China, India, and Thailand are rolling out programs that are very similar to Europe. And so it's very important to understand, what employees are doing, because we wouldn't want them to violate a law in the country that they're working in. Okay. One of the things I wanted to talk about, this is, I call it, my side job. I deal with interstate work. I sometimes ask, what do I call this? Do I call it national work? Do I call it domestic work? Do I call it interstate work? What I found out is it's very easy for a unit to have someone work in another state or Washington, D.C. But the 5 U.S. territories that we don't often think about, it's a very different matter, and can be very complicated to employ someone there. The tax agencies, how taxes work in the 5 U.S. territories is very different than from Illinois or Indiana. And so I would say, working with you, speaking to you, if you had a unit that wanted someone to work in Puerto Rico, please reach out to me. It can be complicated and expensive to set up an ongoing employment relationship for someone working remotely in Puerto Rico. Obviously, I don't judge the merits of someone, the academic merits of why someone might be doing something. That's not part of my role, and so if that's important to a unit, I'm here to help pursue that. I don't judge, why someone is in Puerto Rico. Just, if it's going to be, especially if it's going to be ongoing, there's a lot of things to think about because taxes are done differently there. Mainly for UIUC, but also, with UIC, I'm a point of contact for, what I call interstate employment. And, basically, what I do is I look at, what the salary threshold minimum wage might be for a state that someone might be working in. UPB's policy is that if someone is working in another state for over 60 days or more, then they should complete a tax form for that state. I see there's a question here. Cesar, thank you. Is there a minimum time that would trigger for this to be reported? A faculty is on vacation in another country but will work remotely sporadically. That is a great question. I would say my answer to that, Cesar, would be if someone is going to be on vacation in another country or a conference, that's the only reason they're there, solely they're at a conference in another country or vacation, I don't need to be contacted at all. Then, while they're doing that, while they're on vacation in that country, they open up an email. They open up an email and they do a little bit of work. That would fall under de minimis. Now, how do you define de minimis? That's a great question. But that would be considered de minimis. International employment can be really complicated. I was in a meeting a couple of years ago where a faculty was going to go on vacation to Iran. And I was at the meeting and they were asked, like, hey, while you're in Iran, it's a restricted country as far as the US government goes. Don't even open email. Okay, so don't even do de minimis work. In other words, it wouldn't be allowed, and it would put us in violation of certain laws. So it's hard to give a simple answer for anything, but that's a super question there. And so if someone's on vacation, then hopefully they're avoiding work completely. But if they keep it to de minimis, it doesn't need to be reported to me, I would say. Yeah, go ahead.
To let you know, we are past time, but if you want to take a couple more minutes to wrap up, that would be great.
Sorry about that. I started a timer for myself and I forgot to set it, and I've been trying to track that. Thank you.
That's okay.
Yeah, so I've got one question, and long story short, I can be a point of contact for you. We just rolled this out like right before this meeting. If you're going to have someone working in another country, you can go to the system website, and I'm going to put the link in here. And there is an international employment questionnaire that you can complete. If it's less than 60 days, you just stop right here, and you can send that to me. And final question, does the 60 days out of country include summer break for 9/12 faculty? If someone is outside of their appointment, the 9-month appointment, it does not need to be reported to me at all. They're on vacation or they're outside of their appointment. That does not need to be reported to me at all. So there we go. I'll end that. Once again, sorry about that. And I think I've covered everything I really needed to cover. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to take your call.
Thank you, Eric. We appreciate it.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Next up, we will hear from Danielle Green with updates from Office of Procurement Services.
Good afternoon, all. Thank you for that presentation, Eric. That was very informative. Just a few quick updates today. We are continuing to work on software continuous improvements, working with each of the purchasing offices to develop a guided buying process to simplify the process. So more detail in about 2 months from now on that. We'll provide this group an update. Additionally, I want to keep it light since many of you are getting in your year-end renewals. On behalf of UIC and UIS, I would like to remind you that your unit you should be researching your contract renewals and submit the standing orders for FY27 as soon as possible for processing prior to July 1st. There's been multiple business and finance updates regarding those dates. If you have specific questions on if your unit has renewals or if you're unsure of any questions, please reach out to your purchasing and contract management office for further information. And that, I think that was currently that's all I have for the group. So happy to give a few moments back. But I am super excited. Christina Williams is here and she will be introducing one of our diverse supplier program participants a little bit later. So very excited that this is coming to this meeting, and looking forward to supporting Dash Industries in the future. So without, I don't have anything else, so I will hand it back to Bernadette and Ginger.
Thanks, Danielle. And next up, we have a presentation from Laura Barnett from our University Payroll and Benefits area to talk about payroll adjustment trends. So Laura?
Thank you. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Thanks. Everyone, my name is Laura Barnett, and I'm the Director of UPB Training and Performance Improvement. And today we're going to walk through a decade's worth of payroll adjustment data to better understand where adjustments are coming from, how the trends have evolved, and what we're doing to reduce avoidable work. This analysis covers 2016 through 2025 and highlights both the challenges and opportunities ahead. As we look across the 10-year period, total payroll adjustments grew from just under 53,000 in 2016 to more than 72,000 in 2025. One of the biggest takeaways is that 81% of these adjustments are considered avoidable. And that means the majority stem from issues we can influence through process improvements, clearer expectations, and maybe even better tools. Today's presentation will provide context for those numbers and outline the strategic interventions already underway. To address these trends, communication with the broader business community has been a key priority. Our first major outreach went out through the November 2024 UPB newsletter, followed by a second communication in the UPB newsletter in November of 2025. We also met with a dozen colleges with the highest adjustment numbers to learn about the obstacles and challenges they face. And we collected that information and then convened a cross-university focus group recommended and supported by senior HR leadership. And then over several months, this focus group developed a list of recommendations to reduce payroll adjustments. A separate work group represented by HR representatives from all three universities and the system office has been prioritizing and researching those recommendations. Additionally, UPB has pursued strategies such as the auto-generated emails that notify units when timesheets are not approved. This is a simple but powerful tool which prevents delays in employee pay and the need for a payroll adjustment. When we zoom out and look at the full decade, we see a steady upward trend in adjustments, and that'll be on the next slide. The most notable spikes occurred between 2022 and 2024. In 2025, we see a slight decline, which suggests that perhaps early interventions such as the auto-generated emails may be starting to make an impact. So this line chart visualizes the year-over-year increase in adjustments, culminating in a peak in 2024. Even with a small reduction in 2025, the overall direction reinforces our need for consistent attention to this. We've seen dips before, as you can see. But the overall trend is quite alarming. And this is also a visual reminder of the workload that adjustments place on teams across our system. Here we're looking at prior underpayment adjustments versus current pay adjustments. Both categories of adjustments trend upward over time. And one of the most important data points is that, again, 81% of adjustments are avoidable. The drivers are familiar. Missing or unsubmitted timesheets, late job postings, job changes that are not processed on time, and errors in time reporting. These issues create rework, add costs, and reduce the accuracy and timeliness of employee pay. By addressing the root causes, we hope we can dramatically reduce the volume of adjustments. The adjustments aren't just an administrative inconvenience. They cost time, money, and employee trust. Every correction requires coordination among employee departments, sometimes HR and UPB. And for employees, errors can create confusion and frustration about the accuracy of their pay. For UPB, the continued rise in payroll adjustments is just unsustainable with our current staffing levels and service delivery requirements. Since the rising volume of adjustments cannot be sustained without seriously risking timely and accurate employee pay, we're also investigating a payroll adjustment fee as an additional strategy. We're considering a flat fee for adjustment reasons that are within a unit's control and should be avoidable. Those adjustment types are no time reported, additional time worked, late job posting, job changes, and current pay adjustments, which are essentially timesheet corrections. If a fee is eventually implemented, it would partially fund the salary cost of those processing these adjustments. For now, more analysis is being conducted, and we'll continue to communicate with the community regarding this possible strategy, as well as progress on other efforts and initiatives to curb the payroll adjustments. So, are there any questions in chat? Or does anybody have a question they would like to ask?
I am not seeing anything in the chat yet, Laura.
Okay. Well, I did have my email address, and Larry Hanazuki, he's our senior director. If you should have a question at a later time, please feel free to email both of us, and we would get back to you as promptly as possible.
Thanks, Laura. And
you're very welcome.
We are scheduled to take a 5-minute break, but we're running a little bit ahead of schedule. So I'm just going to move forward in the agenda a little bit and see where we end up. So Brian, are you ready for a business and finance policy office update?
Yes, I am. And let me just get my screen up. And get the PowerPoint going. Okay, everyone. So some policy office updates. Policies of note currently being worked on include a yet-to-be numbered new policy setting out parameters for faculty earning compensation or reimbursement for scholarly activities. We have Section 11 Gifts and Endowments has completed its evaluation and will be available for open comment in late March, early April. A meeting to begin the evaluation review of Section 14 Investments, Banking, and Internal Loans has been scheduled with the subject matter experts, and we'll be providing you updates on that. Updated recently, we have 1542 become eligible to drive a university motor vehicle. This policy was recently updated to reflect a new insurance requirement that all system drivers have a U.S. driver's license. And several materials from Section 22 have been removed with their subject matter addressed by existing numbered policies. And then finally, open comment for the evaluation review updates to Section 7 purchasing and 8 payments and reimbursements will be closing this Friday. So if you have not yet had the opportunity to review and provide comment, please do so as soon as possible. The current Section 7.6, the University Purchasing Card, will be moving to Section 8 as part of the reorganization, and this policy will be broken into smaller subject matter areas. Of note is Policy 8.4.8, which you've heard about previously as the Digital Disbursement Console for Human Subject Payments. This new policy for creating and tracking human subject payments is being introduced as part of this Section 7 and 8 update and is available for review and comment during the open comment period. That's all at this time. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I don't see any in the chat at the moment. And as always, you can reach us in the policy office at our unified BizFin policy office at uillinois.edu email. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Brian. And let's see, we did have a Laura is still with us. So let's go back. Laura, if you don't mind, there is a question in the chat related to the possible pay adjustment fee.
Yes, it would be, the charge would go to the department, not the employee, if we were to pursue that.
Thanks, Laura.
Mhm.
And Brian, thanks again for the policy updates. And we will go ahead and take our normal 5-minute break. So we will begin again with our next topic, sponsorship updates, in 5 minutes. So 1:47, about 1:47, we will begin again. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Next on our agenda, we are going to hear from Ann Larimore, Brenda Sutherland, and Cassie Wildman regarding sponsorships.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay, great. All right. So I'm Cassie Wildman. I'm going to start this off talking about sponsorships. I'm with the University of Illinois Foundation. I've been at the foundation so just about 10 years. And Saturday was my 24th anniversary with the university. So I've been here for a little bit. And then I'm going to let Ann and then Brenda introduce themselves.
Thank you, Cassie. Yeah, I'm Ann Larimore. I am a director with University Accounting and Financial Reporting, and I'll let Brenda introduce herself as well.
Yes, hello, I'm Brenda Sutherland, and I am from the tax office.
Okay. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see my screen here. Okay, so sponsorships.
Cassie,
Yeah, oh yes,
I am seeing, nope, now I am seeing your screen. I think,
Okay.
Just for if others are having issues, up at the top of the Zoom screen itself, you're going to see a tab for meeting, and you'll see a tab for Cassie Wildman's screen. If you can't see the slides, click on the Cassie Wildman screen, and you'll be able to see what she's presenting. So
Okay, thanks, Ginger.
Sorry for the interruption.
Okay, all right. So you can see the agenda here, the items that we're going to cover. So this includes qualified sponsorships, which I'm going to talk about, non-qualified sponsorships, and what we mean by those. We'll also talk about fair market value of items received in return for support and any UBIT implications that come into play. So you can see on this first slide, a qualified sponsorship means the donor or sponsor receives a little more than recognition for their support. They might have their company logo placed in a program or on a slide or something else that just thanks events sponsors. So, really this talks about like, why do we ask for sponsorships? Well, the point of a sponsorship is to help you pay for the event that you are hosting. This allows you to keep the registration fees lower for those in attendance. And when you ask for a sponsorship, you're essentially asking the organization or company to help pay for like the space rental or supplies, maybe printing fees, maybe the speaker honorarium, basically anything else that it might take to put on the event. These sponsorships lessen the burden on your departmental budget. Now, sometimes, I won't go into a lot of detail about this, and we'll a little bit later, but, sometimes there are additional benefits that come with sponsorships at different levels. These might include maybe complimentary registrations to the event or parking or maybe a bit of advertising, really just, it's not advertisement, it's more promotion of a business. So when you're considering whether or not to offer these benefits to sponsors, you'll need to think about the value of benefits they might receive. So, this is what we mean by fair market value. So if you are, if you're charging $50 for non-sponsors to attend the conference, and a sponsor receives 2 of those registrations as part of their support, then you would deduct $100 from the gift value of their contribution. And that the fair market value of that is basically probably the meals they get in, as part of the conference. So, something very simple like that. So we do ask that you inform potential sponsors ahead of time if there'll be some portion of their gift that's not tax deductible. So if there's a non-gift being factored in, like if they're getting 2 registrations, you're going to deduct that from the tax deductibility. And we want to make sure that they know that ahead of time so that when they receive the tax receipt, when this comes through the foundation as a sponsorship, that they're not surprised that it says $900 of gift and $100 of non-gift. Of course, sponsors can also decline their benefits. Maybe they want to be a sponsor, and yes, they're entitled to 2 complimentary registrations to that, but they're not going to send anybody. So we just want to know that ahead of time if you've got a sponsor who is not going to take advantage of any of those benefits. So that is a brief overview of qualified sponsorships. And then I'm going to turn it over to Anne now.
Thank you, Cassie. Yeah, now I'm going to talk more about non-qualified sponsorships. So as you can see there on that first bullet, a non-qualified sponsorship is whenever a sponsor receives substantial return benefit in exchange for their sponsorship. So these are typically exchanges where the sponsor receives a return benefit with a value approximately equal to what they're paying, so but not exceeding. So with non-qualified sponsorships, the sponsor is not giving the sponsorship payment with charitable intent. Instead, they are providing the sponsorship in order to receive those return benefits. So as an example, if Boeing paid your department $10,000 for a non-qualified sponsorship, and in exchange for that $10,000, Boeing is receiving substantial return benefits that have a value of approximately $10,000. So maybe they're getting advertising in the conference program, advertising in posters around the conference, a booth at the conference, so many free registrations for the conference, and those would be considered a non-qualified sponsorship. Non-qualified sponsorships are typically accounted for, as you can see on that first bullet, in a 3Q self-supporting fund. They can be included in the same self-supporting fund where you're recording your conference registration fee for the event. So whenever your department receives the cash or check for that non-qualified sponsorship, then you would deposit those through the bursar's office, not through the foundation, because it's going to a self-supporting fund, to that account listed in the second bullet point, the 303,590, which, as you can see, is the non-qualified sponsorship revenue account. You can also receive funding in other ways. So you can work with merchant card services to receive non-qualified sponsorships through a credit card terminal, or you can complete the anticipated incoming wire or ACH transfer form to have UAFR record the ACH wire from the sponsorship. And those would all go to that 303,590 account code on your self-supporting fund. So, and in addition, since non-qualified sponsorships are an exchange, you will want to work with your applicable purchasing office to complete the appropriate sponsorship agreement with the sponsor. And Brenda's going to speak more to this later in the presentation, but non-qualified sponsorships may result in unrelated business income tax, or UBIT. So whereas qualified sponsorships are only receiving acknowledgments, the thank you to our sponsor Boeing, non-qualified sponsorships can receive return benefits that may result in UBIT, such as advertising. And then Cassie spoke about the mixed sponsorships a little bit earlier, but I wanted to elaborate a bit, especially on how this shows up in Banner. So if a sponsor is receiving both non-substantial return benefits, so if they're receiving those, thank you to our sponsor Boeing, just the acknowledgement, as well as substantial return benefits, the advertising, the booth space, the registration fees, then the payment is considered a mix of both qualified and non-qualified sponsorships. So those are typically recorded to a gift fund through the foundation with that gift and non-gift breakdown. So the qualified portion of the sponsorship, that acknowledgement that's just a simple thank you, would need to post to account 303-241, which is gift revenue distributions from UIF. And then the non-qualified portion, or the substantial return benefit, would post to account 303-242, non-gift revenue distributions from UIF. So you have your gift and non-gift breakdown. And as Cassie noted, you will want to designate that gift and non-gift breakdown appropriately on your gift transmittal form so that the revenue sweeps and posts to the appropriate revenue account code from a financial reporting perspective. These amounts would be recorded at fair market value, as Cassie talked about. So it's really up to your department to determine the fair market value of the return benefits. So you can do your own research and compare prices for other similar items or other similar services within the community or open market or compare to, like with the registration fees, you may know what you're charging individuals to attend the conference. So you may already know the fair market value of that return benefit. So for that Boeing example, let's say they paid $10,000 sponsorships, and in return, they're receiving $4,000 worth of substantial return benefits. So they're getting $4,000 worth of that advertising, the booth space, the conference registrations. Then this would typically post through the foundation to a gift fund, where 4,000 would be considered non-gift, posting to that 303-242 account code, and the remaining amount, the 6,000, would be considered gift or charitable donation, recorded to that 303-241 account code. Depending on what the sponsor is receiving in return, these mixed sponsorships may result in UBIT, but I will now pass it on to Brenda to talk more about UBIT tax implications.
Okay, thank you, Anne. I will now discuss UBIT tax implications of sponsored payments from a tax perspective. Cassie and Anne both addressed sponsorship payments from the accounting perspective. Let's start with the definition. Unrelated business income, or UBI, is gross income derived by an exempt organization from any unrelated trade or business that is regularly carried on. There is a three-pronged test for this, to test for unrelated business income. First of all, there must be a trade or business. Next, it must be regularly carried on. And lastly, it must not be substantially related to the organization's exempt purpose. For the system, unrelated trade or business means that any activity that is not related to one of our tax-exempt purposes. And these include teaching, research, public service, healthcare, and economic development. Generating UBI may create a tax liability, which is okay. It is simply a factor that should be taken into consideration as a cost of doing business. Tax and UAFR work with various departments to prepare, review, and report activities that do generate UBI for the system. Here are the current federal and state of Illinois corporate tax rates. If your department's activity creates a profit, it may be charged for any tax that may be owed. Departments should consider budgeting 30.5% on the activity's net income. Once again, tax and UAFR work together to determine, and we notify profitable departments on the amount charged for any tax that is owed for their activity. But there is some good news. Receiving qualified sponsorship payments is not considered an unrelated trade or business, and therefore those payments are not subject to tax. So what is a substantial return benefit? Cassie and Anne previously mentioned this, but it is any benefit where the fair market value is greater than 2% of the sponsorship. This may create UBI. Cassie also mentioned previously a few examples. Other substantial benefits may include radio, posters, print, or digital type advertising. Okay, so what is the difference between an advertisement and an acknowledgement? First of all, advertising includes messages containing qualitative or comparative language, some price information, other indications of some type of savings, an endorsement, or an inducement to purchase, sell, or to use those products or services. An example of advertising is a vendor handing out discount coupons at an exhibit booth. Okay, next is going to be acknowledgements. What is an acknowledgement? An acknowledgement includes logos and slogans that do not contain qualitative or comparative descriptions of the sponsor's products or services. It's okay to include general contact information like the address, a telephone number. Site is okay to be an acknowledgement. For example, a display of the sponsor's product at a sponsored event is considered an acknowledgement. If it's just sitting there on the table, it's fine. So what really creates UBI? It's advertising that causes UBI. Acknowledgements do not. However, we mentioned previously about a mixture of both advertising and acknowledgements. We do take the conservative approach is to treat the full amount as advertising. Resources are noted here on the slide for future reference. And that concludes our presentation. And here on the slide is our contact information. And I don't know if there's any questions in the chat. I haven't been monitoring that. I don't think there are any.
I don't see anything right now.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks, Ann, Brenda, and Cassie. We appreciate you guys being here and providing all the great information. Next up is Christina Williams from the Office of Procurement Diversity with a vendor introduction. Christina?
Good afternoon, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Christina Williams. I am Associate Director of Business Opportunity under the Office of Procurement Diversity, I'm sorry. We don't really have any updates, so I'll go ahead with the introduction. I'm very excited about this one. This vendor is participating currently in our Diverse Supplier Development Program. They are a wholesale distributor and a supply chain partner, headquartered in Champaign, Illinois. So we have Dash Industries on the call with us today. I'll go ahead and pass it off to Jacqueline Calipini so that she could tell you more about Dash Industries. So, Jacqueline.
Hi, everyone. How are you? I'm going to just go ahead and pull up my screen because I think I was able to share it. Yes, share. Can everyone see my screen?
We see yes, we can. Yep.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Well, like Christina said, yes, we are a diverse vendor. Dash is a minority-owned BEP certified wholesale distribution company. And we focus on the bulk supply of facility maintenance supplies, primarily air filters and janitorial supplies. As mentioned before, we are a certified diverse supplier, and we are aware that many organizations are looking to meet their diversity spend goals. So we want to help each organization that we work with increase their spending in the purchasing of the products that we carry. The good thing about us is that we provide items that every single building and every single campus needs. So we are really focused on filters. Our founder and owner, he is really well trained and versatile in filters. So that's really why we have a lot more filter sales than anything else. We also provide janitorial products as well, but the thing that people order the most is our filters. And as you can see on the screen, these are the certifications that we currently hold. So we're SDB certified, MBE certified, and we're also a certified vendor through BEP. We already supply filters and janitorial supplies for multiple state organizations, as well as municipalities. Now, we're a small business, so you'll be building a relationship with us. That's one of the things that a lot of our customers are interested in having. You'll know who we are, and you'll be able to call someone instead of having to deal with that automated system. We are an authorized distributor, so our manufacturers are able to, work with us. We are distributing for them. And we can always find what you need using an equal product. So if you are looking for something and it's hard to find, a lot of companies are you're going to one place. What we're able to do for the customer is we're able to look at multiple organizations. And so we'll either find the exact thing that you're looking for, or we're going to find something comparable. Now, what the manufacturers get from us is, because of their partnership with Dash, they are able to access contracts that normally they wouldn't be able to access because of the mandatory diversity goals. So we're assisting a lot of people in that manner. These are some of the organizations that we have supplied successfully. If you look at the screen, you'll see that we've supplied for the Illinois Secretary of State's office, Human Services, Veterans Affairs, DCFS, McCormick Place, and Hyatt Regency. We currently supply filters to every prison in the state. We have a 3-year air filter supply contract with the VA, and we just recently restocked DCFS's janitorial supplies for the year. If you want to call any of these companies for references, you really can. We're really happy to provide that information for anybody who's looking to work with us. When people are asking which organizations what we work with, these are some of them. These are some of the organizations. We are an authorized distributor, so we're able to work as if we're the company. We're ordering from their warehouse, the warehouse is shipping it to our clients, and so forth. We don't have to worry about not having enough of anything. There isn't a filter type or size that we cannot get in capacity, order size, and can get into everything quicker because we're delivering directly from that manufacturer. If you can look here, we are working with MSC. That's the organization that we're working with right now as it relates to our janitorial. We do a lot of work with FilterBly, Manhummel, and Campfill. These are the largest and best filter companies in the nation. Now, this is still some of the clients that we're working with. These are some of the organizations that we've built like, real good conversations and relationships with. These are the facilities that we have supplied successfully. As stated, we focus on large scale supply. So we're not looking at, getting filters to somebody's individual house. We are looking at the larger picture. So the Hyatt Regency is the largest hotel in Chicago with over 2,000 rooms, and we're currently providing filters for them. McCormick Place is a 2 million square foot facility, and we're also providing filters for them as well. And like I said earlier, we are providing filters for every prison in the state of Illinois. Now, fortunately, we are, fortunate enough to be supported by state leaders. We continue to work with the leaders across the state to help more minority-owned small businesses grow and thrive. We're, understanding that there are a lot of diversity goals in different categories. And so we want to make sure that other people know how to get to those tables and how to partner with different organizations as well as become a successful small business. When people are wondering how to get a hold of us, this is how you get a hold of us. We are already in the University of Illinois systems. This is our vendor number. And if you have any questions, you can reach us through our office or our cell number. You can look at our website at dashindustriesllc.com. We've already been doing the work in this community and the state. Now, all we really desire is to be able to do a little bit more work and partner with the University of Illinois systems to start creating clean air for you guys as well. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you guys. Christina, it's back to you.
Thank you. And that's all we have. So I'll go ahead and pass it back to you, Bernadette.
Thank you, Christina and Jacqueline. We appreciate both of you being here. And I would also like to thank all of our presenters today. There was a lot of information presented, and of course, also a thank you to all of the participants for coming today. We definitely appreciate your time and hope that you found the information useful. And as always, please feel free to contact University Outreach with any questions. Bernadette is showing our contact information now. We are, of course, here to help, and we look forward to seeing all of you at our next meeting scheduled on May 20th. So thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.